for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah. All right, here we go. Kicking off another week. It is Monday, January 28th, 2019. 28 days into the new year, just 337 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? Man, oh man, what a week we've got coming up on the show. And I'm sitting here thinking, when have I slept? When have I slept? I don't even know. Thursday night here on Fade to Black last week. Friday day and night at the NAMM show down in Anaheim. That was amazing. Saturday, coast to coast. And that rocks all the way to 2 a.m. And, I'm not even thinking about sleep until 4 a.m., which kills my Sunday. And then, of course, we have to work on Sunday because we have to get ready for this week of shows. And I just feel like I haven't closed my eyes in like 15 days. But it's all good. It's all good. It's Monday. I'm back. And what a week we have. Tonight, Darryl Anka is here, the channeler of Bashar. He is back with us. So much to discuss with Darryl. Very excited. Such a cool human being. And that's what we're doing tonight. Tomorrow night, get ready. Porangi. Here on Fade to Black. Can you believe it? So he's going to be here tomorrow night. World musician, fully woke. And that is tomorrow night. And I'm so looking forward to that. And then Wednesday night, Patrick Wood is back. He's got a new book out. And I'll talk more about this tomorrow night and, of course, Wednesday. But it's called The Hard Road. The Hard Road. And it's technocracy and it's called The Hard Road to the World Order. Yeah, think about that for a second. So that's Wednesday night. Thursday, another Fader night. Open lines all night long. That's our week. And this weekend coming up, oddly enough, this weekend coming up, we've got a wedding. So that kills. Oh, man. Somebody just help me. We've got a wedding. I need like a month off. That's what I need. I just want a month of not thinking, just drinking and eating and all that stuff. All right. Follow us on all of our social media, on Stellar, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Everything is Jimmy Church, Fade to Black. Go over to jimmychurchradio.com. Dial it in right there. You can also follow me on Twitter at jchurchradio. Follow me on Twitter at jchurchradio. Any questions or comments? Hashtag F2B. I'm distracted with these. What is Olivia? What is that? That is. Oh man, that's distracting. That is the funniest GIF I have ever seen pop up here. Follow us on Twitter at jchurchradio. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox, and any questions or comments, hashtag F2BQ. You can also email throughout the show, Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. Let's get straight to this crazy breaking news today. You know what? There's so much breaking news, I had to stop the breaking news. I just had to stop it. It's crazy. A month without Jimmy, that would be a hard shutdown to deal with. Bring in a co-host. We'll bring in somebody to co-host. Yeah, maybe we should do that. Get a co-host. So once in a while I could call. Would you guys accept a co-host? Look, let me tell you something. I feel if I ever brought in somebody, it is such a hard, what I went through coming in as the fill-in guy. That's tough. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. You guys would welcome. You know what? I'm off on a tangent here. Nah, we can't do that. We'll just go with replays. All right. Breaking news. President Trump has accepted Nancy Pelosi's invitation and will finally give his State of the Union speech on the Capitol floor next Tuesday, February 5th. There you go. Next, Walmart drops Google. That's right. Walmart has dropped Google. They've dropped Google, Google Express, their shopping services. Walmart is ditching Google to focus on its own e-commerce operations. They say they don't need no stinking Google to succeed. Yeah, that's, you've got bullets in your gun if you can just walk around and go done with Google. Just drop them. Don't need them. That's what they're doing. They were originally partnered up with Google. This is my memory. I remember all the announcements, to help Google deliver, Google Express, and all of that. They're just like, you know what? We don't need their software. We don't need their internet. We don't need their e-commerce. We can handle all of this ourselves. And Walmart is going right up against Amazon. And, Amazon, you think about it, it's virtually done the same thing. They did everything without Google. Pretty crazy. Well, that happened. They've already done it, by the way. This isn't happening next month. They ended Google Express a couple of weeks ago. Yep. All right. Also, Washington today announcing they have imposed sanctions against the Venezuelan state oil company PDVSA, seizing $7 billion in assets. That too, as well, because they will also keep any money from any current or future sales of oil. And that's around, on the books right now, 11 million ducks. Now, remember what I said last week? When all of this broke, I had said that the United States announcement last week supporting the change in Venezuela's leadership was all about oil. Nobody wanted to talk about it, but I did. Not going to lie, right? Well, today, U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton said, and I quote, "It will make a big difference to the United States economically if we could have American oil companies invest and produce the oil capabilities in Venezuela," end quote. That's right. Also, today, if you had any question about what was going on, John Bolton is standing up at this podium, and he's got a tablet, one of those yellow legal pads, and he's got it. See, I don't let you, freeze frame so you can see my notes, right? But he did. He just had it. On his notepad, it said 5,000 troops to Colombia. Mm-hmm. Yep. It's about to go down. Think about that. All right. Also today, crazy, the United States and the Taliban have reached a framework for a peace deal, part of which states, some things you can't make up, part of it states that Afghanistan cannot be used as a base for terrorists. Yeah, right. Okay, we'll see. And that was the whole reason for invading the country in the first place. And it's not going to stop anything. It didn't stop when Russia left. It didn't stop. No. What a waste of time and lives and money. How many years? It's going to be 2020. How many years? Think about that. All right. Well, now let's turn things around here. Come and join us. It's going to be in 3 short weeks. The 2019 Conscious Life Expo right here in Los Angeles at the LAX Hilton, February 22nd through the 25th. This year, we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of Chariots of the Gods with Eric Von Daniken. How about that conversation that I had with Eric live over the weekend on Coast to Coast? That guy, not only is he amazing, but that mind is going to be with us here in Los Angeles in 3 weeks. You want to be hanging out with him. I'll be hosting the panel with Eric and Linda Moulton Howe, Jason Martell, Billy Carson, and Rabbi Ariel Bar Zadok on Friday. And you've got to get tickets for that. I think it's already sold out. So if it's not, I believe that it is. But there you go. Get over to the Conscious Life Expo website. Click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Get your tickets now, and we will see you. I can't believe it, 3 short weeks. You know who else is going to be there? Our guest tonight, Darryl, Anka. Yep, and George Norrie, Nassim Haramein, Robert Schock, Daniel Brinkley, Grant Cameron, Julia Mossbridge is going to be there, and another 50 speakers. So come on, come and hang out with us at the Conscious Life Expo. Our next event after that is Contact in the Desert. That's coming up May 31st through June 3rd in Indian Wells, Palm Springs, California at the Renaissance Indian Wells Resort and Spa. Tickets and info, contactinthedesert.com. Our 2019 Soul Tech Conference is going to happen over the July 4th weekend at the Sunrise Ranch in Loveland, Colorado. You can sign up for tickets and info at soultechgathering.com. We're getting ready to launch the website and ticket sales in the next few days. We're going to open it up. First come, first serve to everybody on the waiting list. Get on the waiting list now. You've been warned. soultechgathering.com. I don't want to hear anybody upset that they couldn't get tickets. Okay? All right. Let's do this. Where am I at? Oh, Bitcoin. I got to talk to you about Bitcoin. Bitcoin has continued that 2018 crash and burn straight into 2019. Today, right before the show, it dipped. It got under 3,400, right? I think right now it's floating around 3,400. It dipped into the 33s, like 3,370. Oh, man. My prediction stays. I think it's going to settle into, it's either going to be $1,000, $100, or $10. That's what it's going to do. It's going to be one of those. It's going to be a round number. I'm telling you, it's going to be one of those that's just going to stay right there. All right. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. It is just $2 a month. Click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com. You can also become a Fadernaut over in our membership section on the site. It's right there. You get commercial-free downloadable archives. You can get autographed shirts and hats. You can get a private email to me. You can get the designation of being an official Fadernaut. I can't remember anything else. What was that? Did you guys hear that? That was something over the phone line. That was nuts. What? We are in a soundproof bunker. That sounded like a Japanese Zero diving in on something in World War II. That was crazy. Did you guys hear that, or is it just me? Okay, nobody's tweeting. You guys didn't hear that? Wow. Okay. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today. Alan Alda is 83 years old. Also today, Joey Fatone Jr. is 42. Of course, in sync. I got to say it, in sync. But you know what? I think he's a cool dude. Number 2, My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Yeah, he was pretty funny. Also today, rapper MC Rakim is 51. Eric B. and Rakim. I'm going to tell you, I think Rakim, if you were going to, because there's a lot of great rappers out there, but if you were going to do a top 10, he'd be on that top 10. Yeah, he would have to be. Could he be top 5? You know, top 5. Okay, look, I realize who I am. Look at me. I realize who I am, but I know my rap. So if I'm going top 5 rap, for me, if I'm going top 5 rap, I gotta go Public Enemy, followed by Ice Cube separately. I gotta go Ice Cube separately from Public Enemy. I don't know if I would reverse that though. If I would put Ice Cube as number 1, and then Public Enemy as number 2. But then Ice-T, right there, number 3, no question about it. And then when you get back off of that, from the old school stuff, and there's a lot of great stuff out there, the old school, but I got to go Eminem. I got to get Eminem in there. And man, what is Jay-Z? Is Jay-Z like an all-time? You know, then what do you do with Dr. Dre and his beats and producing? Does he cut the top 5? Top 5. Man, I don't know. I don't know what I do with that. I don't know. Biggie Smalls. Yeah, absolutely. Biggie be number 5. I would, God, that's tough. It's so hard, man. So, yeah, we could shuffle the top 5 around. You could totally put Ice Cube into, yeah, there you go. Look at that. I love this audience. You guys get it. See, that's the thing. You guys get it. All right, let's move on. Where am I? I forget even. I love doing this show. I love Mondays because I just space out. On this day in history, you ready? 1986, our Mandela Effect moment. The Space Shuttle Challenger explodes 73 seconds after liftoff, killing all 7 astronauts on board. And it happened in 1986. Fader fact, in 1971, Pink Floyd played a show in London that was so loud, it killed all of the fish in a lake 100 yards away. That's right. That's a Fader fact. Oh, man. All right. Man, I'm almost out of time. I got to get Darryl Anka in here, but I needed to share this with you because over the last couple of years, I have been drinking River Moon coffee, Fade to Black blend, and it causes me to do these rants. No, I'm kidding. Oh, it does, actually. It does. But over the last couple of years, I have interviewed, I have met, had many conversations with channelers. And last year, I was asked to speak about them for a couple of documentaries that have been produced or being produced right now. Strange, right? Because I don't channel. I don't. I know that. You know that. But I have very strong opinions about what may be going on. Also, with an interview comes the research, and I've done a lot of that too. Not only with channeling itself, but as I'm out there diving into the physics and the science and just doing my thing, some of the new information that has come forward about the things at the atomic or subatomic level and outward, to the very big stuff and to the universe, that research is pointing clearly back to something. A faster than light instant action thing. Now, at first you wouldn't see the connection with channeling, but I do. What we call channeling today has been going on since the dawn of man. And as soon as we could write, as soon as we could remember or share or communicate, one of the very first things that was recorded and documented was conversations with the heavens, the stars, with someone, getting information. And this is what is strange for me, because that today, those same stories, that same thing, right, is accepted in religion. Those passages, those things that have been written, the communication to the heavens and to the stars, and that channeling, telepathy, ESP, whatever you want to call it. If it's in the Bible, or if it's in a religious thing, or if it's accepted, it's okay. And I'm okay with that, actually. But today, if we talk about this phenomenon going down in a modern context, right? Channeling. They say it's not real. They say that it's fake, or that someone is dealing with a mental issue. But you can't have it both ways. You can't. And I talked about this in these documentaries. And it's the science side of it. To me, it's blurring the lines. I'm going to talk to Darryl, Anka, about this tonight, because that is what is going down. Now that the science, the real hardcore science, is saying that there is something going on and that we are closer to having this part of our everyday reality, just like eating and breathing. You see, one of my favorite people out there is Jane Roberts. Yeah, the Seth books. And the Seth books are one thing, but fortunately, we also have some very cool, although rare, there's not much of it out there, there's only like 2 videos of her just sitting and talking about life. You need to seek it out. You need to go and watch it. Listen to her. Listen to Jane. And then listen to her do Seth. Because there's a difference there. Listen to her words, and then listen to Seth. We're talking clearly about 2 different things. There's something real going on. And although I don't really know what it is, I don't know how it happens, but this is what is part of our and my journey today. I'm trying to seek these answers, and I'm trying to figure it out. I know that the ability today that physicists are telling us, Albert Einstein spoke about this, freaky action at a distance, right? That things happen not faster than the speed of light, but instantaneously. And we are just now understanding that. But if we jump to us humans in 1,000 years, in 100 years, will we better understand what is going on and how to utilize that, and possibly not only communicate, but data transmissions and everything else instantly all over the place? And is that what is going on? Are there civilizations out there? Are there entities with the ability to just like that with us? across, this expanse of the universe. I think it's a possibility. And somebody had said to me last week, then I'm going to get out of here, maybe it was the week before, that there isn't the ability with locality, non-locality at the quantum level, with quantum entanglement, that we are, we're dealing with, tiny, tiny, tiny little things that are not only being transported, but being entangled, that we can't do data, right? I'm just thinking that's the exact opposite of the reality of things. Once you figure that out and the ability to control that, data is the last thing you're going to be concerned about. I'm talking about the size of data and data streams, because it's all going to be going down instantaneously. Right? Now, one last thing on this. When we're dealing with something, subatomic, atoms, here's a piece of crumb from my desktop. You see that on my fingertip? That's tiny. And then we're talking about things on a circuit board. And now we're talking about, tiny transistors that you can only see with a microscope that are turning on and off. Okay? You're talking about billions of atoms on that tiny little speck of gold. But what if those billions of atoms, those in an entanglement situation, now we are talking about data streams that are tremendous. So think about that. That's why I just don't agree with it. I think there's the ability right now to do not only data, but communication, just like we are doing now with our cell phones and everything else. Yep, quantum eye roll, but you already saw that. Exactly. IPD gets it. He gets it. All right, I'm going to get out of here. We've got Darryl, Anka tonight. Very excited about this. Tomorrow night, Parangi is here. Wednesday night, it is Patrick Wood. I am your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. You can email me, Jimmy, at jimmychurchradio.com. Follow me on Twitter at jchurchradio. It's that simple, and I'll be right back with our guest, Darryl Anka. Stay with me.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on jimmychurchradio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hey folks, Guess what the number one phrase that Life Change Tea receives by email? You ready? We love this tea. We love this tea. Time after time, week after week, we love this tea. Life Change Tea gives you more energy, a beautiful cleansing, and fulfills its slogan perfectly. The tea that makes you go. So if you want to be on your health game, log on to getthetea.com and order Life Change Super Strength Tea. Packages come in a 1-month supply, and when you brew this stuff, wait until you see the results. Aren't we all about the results? And with a lot of people's health struggling, we can use a little bit of help. Doctors will tell you disease starts in the gut. So log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Be our next email saying, I love this tea. I love this tea. Get the tea at getthetea.com. Helping America one tea bag at a time.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Do you want to lose weight but have no idea where to begin? The Fast Start Diet, a 3-day weight loss plan, is the answer. 3 days of nutritionally balanced, calorie-restricted meals delivered right to your door. No shopping, no measuring, and no cooking. Everything is prepared for you and ready to eat at home or on the go. The Fast Start Diet has all the amazing benefits of intermittent fasting without starving. We've helped thousands of people who have struggled to reach their weight loss goals. Isn't it time we helped you? With the Fast Start Diet, you'll lose weight and feel great.
Find Fast Start Diet on Amazon or go to faststartdiet.com and use promo code TALK to get 10% off your first box. And as a special bonus, Fast Start will include their #1 rated Lipo3 appetite suppressant spray free with your order. This is Jimmy Church. And whatever your diet plans are, do what I did. Go to faststartdiet.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right. Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Darryl Anka is here on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. Tomorrow night, Porangui is going to join us. Wednesday night, Patrick Wood. That's going to be an amazing conversation, too, as well. Thursday nights, another Fader Night, open lines all night long. Tonight, it's Darryl Anka. Darryl has been channeling the remarkable multi-dimensional being from the future known as Bashar for over 35 years. Darryl is an international speaker. He has more than 20 books published in the United States and Japan. And along with Edgar Cayce, Seth, and Abraham Hicks, the Bashar material has been heralded as some of the most relevant, compelling, and dynamic information delivered to the planet to date. In addition to channeling Bashar, Darryl expresses his creative talents in the forms of writing, directing, producing films through his own production company, Zia Films. Now, tonight, we're going to go back a little bit, and we're going to talk about his recent documentary. It's called First Contact, which explores his life as a channel and the messages that Bashar shares through him and the earth changes that we are all experiencing today with a fresh look into 2019. And I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Darryl Anka. Darryl, good evening. How are you?
I'm good, Jimmy. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
Oh, no, we appreciate it, Darryl. And, you know, we were talking earlier today. It's been almost a year since you were on with us last. What have you been up to?
Oh, so many things. We are prepping right now to do our third movie at my production company. We've also been exploring developing escape rooms. I'm not sure if everyone knows what they are, but they're a different form of entertainment that is relatively new, where a group of friends goes into a room that is themed with a certain story, and they have to find clues and solve puzzles to escape from the room in an hour. It's a form of entertainment that promotes team building, communication, problem solving. It's a very exciting new branch of entertainment that we're excited to get into. Plus, I've been writing.
I have an escape room. It's called the bunker. I'm trapped in here every day.
So, you got to find those clues.
Yeah, got to find those clues. Oh, yeah. I've been reading so much about escape rooms, and both of my daughters, right? Now we're sounding old, but both of them are fully into it, and they're always coming. Do you want to go this weekend? And so that's what you're doing now with film production and writing and screenwriting and being creative like that. The escape room concept is perfect for you.
Oh, absolutely fits right into what we can do, especially coming from a background of special effects, set building, and things like that. It's absolutely right up our alley.
Now, I wanted to ask you this before we get, really heavy. But I can't imagine, certainly you and I have talked about this, and you talk about this publicly, but the last couple of years, 16, 17, and 18, pretty traumatic, pretty heavy, right? Pretty strange things going on around us. And we're looking at 2019 now. Are we going to get something different happening? Is it going to be more of the same? Do we need to prep ourselves to deal with more of the same? What do you think
it's a good idea. I mean, I don't think we're quite out of the woods yet. And I think there are more things to come in the next year to deal with. But it's good preparation, and it's good, to take responsibility for the energy and the way we want to use it, in the way we prefer to use it. Bashar has called 2019 the year of breakups and shakeups. So I definitely think the roller coaster will continue for a little while. I think we're going to have to deal with the consequences of what's been happening over the last 3 years for a while longer. But I also think that this is an opportunity to break things wide open and to really steer ourselves in the direction of a reality that we prefer, because now we have a prime example, many people do, of what we don't prefer. So that makes things clearer as to what direction we actually would prefer to go in.
In a little bit, you and I, we're going to talk about the science of this. And in your documentary, First Contact, some of the science is presented there in a very absorbable way. I mean, especially for somebody like me, I totally got it. And I want to discuss that in a bit. But over the past weekend, 2 days ago on Saturday, over on Coast to Coast AM, I had Eric Von Daniken on the show. I don't know if you caught it. It doesn't matter. But we talked channeling, Eric and I, on the show.
Okay.
And yeah, trippy, right?
Yeah.
And I had asked him, and I'm going to ask you now, what is the difference? No, let me hit it to you this way. With the Old Testament, right? Mm-hmm. The religious side of things. It doesn't even matter what religion, right? Everybody was channeling something from the heavens and relaying that knowledge back to us, hopefully to advance our civilization with this divine information. But today, that is accepted. That's accepted. That part of what this phenomenon, that's accepted. But in a modern context, when we start to talk about channeling, then that's hooey, right? It doesn't make sense to me. You can't have it both ways, can you? Or are we talking about two different things?
Yeah, not really. I mean, it is in a sense the same thing, although the thing that has to be said is, of course, there is always going to be some degree of filtering. And when you're talking about people going into the channeling state and receiving information from higher realms in the past, you were dealing with very different belief systems, very different kinds of perspectives about what people thought of the world, how they related to the idea of creation than we do today. So I think we're seeing the same basic mechanism. But in modern times, ideally, we are now more likely to strip away the particular sociological definitions that existed back then, and we're sort of aiming to go for more understanding, a clearer understanding of the underlying causal mechanisms of the phenomena, rather than getting caught up in the interpretations or filtering that happened so much back then. That's the main difference I see today, is not so much a difference in mechanism, but a difference in interpretation.
Do you ever use the argument when somebody comes up and wants to be a skeptic or a professional debunker and all of this? Do you ever pull the Bible card out and use that argument?
I rarely do, because, again, to me, I would rather just focus on explaining the basic idea that channeling is a natural state that every single person does from time to time, even the skeptics and the debunkers, because no one really understands what that mechanism is. They're going off of old, outdated, medieval, mythological definitions. And when a debunker proves, so to speak, that those definitions aren't true, they believe that they have actually gotten rid of the entire idea, when in fact they're being just as gullible as they're accusing the believers of being, because they're buying into the idea that the outdated definitions are a real description of what these phenomena are about. And from my perspective, they're not at all. You have to dig much deeper to understand the true mechanical underlying causes of these experiences. So I usually go into a more scientifically based, so to speak, explanation based on the idea that we now understand, and what we demonstrated in our documentary is that the channeling state is a specific brain state, and it's called gamma, where the brain is operating between 40 and 100 hertz, 4,100 cycles per second. And when you're in that state, you have the ability to synthesize and process information at a higher rate and from a different perspective, which can give people a different point of view than they might have conceived of before. So the idea is that when anyone is following their passion, when they're in the zone, when they're really aligned, when they're really ticking on all cylinders, as you say, they're in, usually, more often than not, or even in some deep meditations, they're usually in a channeling state. So the state itself is a provable state. What people choose to do with it, that can be many different things. And it's not necessarily about convincing someone to believe that, I'm contacting another entity or anything like that. It's about focusing on the information, because the channeling state provides a different perspective and a different way of delivering information. And it's the information that proves itself to be valid, because when you apply it, you actually get a measurable effect in your life. That's what I choose to focus on.
Do you remember?
I don't hear the words in the state so much. It's kind of like, you know how if you are having a very strong daydream and somebody walks in the room and they may have to call your name 3 times before you hear them?
Right.
It's kind of like that for me. I'm lost in a very dynamic, energetic kind of daydream full of images and concepts being downloaded through me very quickly. And I can't really pay attention to the idea of the translation that occurs from my brain into language for the person asking the question. That's a sort of a secondary level for me. I sometimes use the analogy that being in the channeling state when I am doing a public event, when Bashar is coming through, it feels like I'm standing under a thundering waterfall, but the people in the room are just getting the spray. So the waterfall is so much more powerful, I just have no need to pay attention to the spray. That's the translation that they need. But I'm getting information in a very different way.
I've got to ask the dumb question. Let me get one dumb one out.
Okay.
Were you ever not able to make the Bashar connection right before walking out on stage?
That's not a dumb question. And the answer is no. It's always there, because first of all, time for him is not what it is for us. It's not like an interruption in his day.
Right.
And when I feel that it's correct to do a public channeling or a private channeling, the access is always there, because the link is always there. There's not always information traveling along the link, but the link is always there. Now, there have been a couple of times when someone has asked, is such and such a good date to do a session? I might get a sense of, no, that's not a good date. And it has more to do with the idea that it just simply might not be appropriate for a number of other reasons. It has nothing to do with the timing per se. So when it feels correct, then he's always there. The information always comes through.
You know what's really weird tonight, and I haven't heard anything like this in quite a long time. Twice now, there was a growl. Did you hear it, by the way?
Not on my end.
Yeah, I didn't hear the second one. Somebody just popped up here on Twitter and said there was the growl again. I haven't heard this in quite a while. About 15 minutes ago, it happened, and I don't even know how to explain what it sounded like. I am in a soundproof, windowless, underground room. Okay, and you and I are both in the valley. We all know how noisy it is above ground. It's impossible, right? So I'm down here in the silence, and this thing just happened and went, and I was like, what was
unless it's something coming through my microphone on the computer, I have no idea what it is because I'm not hearing what you're describing.
I was just hoping I was channeling something by accident. Oh, somebody just said, I need a favor. Can we channel some warm weather to Indiana? Oh, man. Okay. Now, back to this concept, though, about the state of mind and the gamma state. The reason why I'm asking, do you remember? It's so much information, right? Even as a listener, when I'm listening to Bashar, I got to take notes, man. I've got to be on my game.
Right. Well, the concepts that come through me, that download into me, I retain the concept. I just don't hear the words in terms of how it's explained to someone else because I don't need to listen to that. I get the concept in one split second, and it unfolds in me as it needs to over whatever works for me, whatever's the appropriate time scale. I either get it all at once or I take time to process it later myself. I just don't need to hear the words because that's for someone else.
Did you, okay, now let's back up. 35 years ago, at that point in your life, had you heard of Jane Roberts?
No, not until, 35 years ago I had, yes. But remember that my channeling was predicated by a UFO sighting 45 years ago.
Right.
So it was from the UFO sightings that I began doing a lot of research. And by the time I went into the channeling class, I already knew who Seth was and who Jane Roberts was because that was part of my research.
My point about bringing up Jane, she... in a good way, in a very amazing way, she freaks me out, right? Just the books are one thing, they are. The books are there. That's one thing. You put the books to the side, and you look at the very rare footage out there that exists of Jane, where she is just sitting and talking and being herself and chain smoking and doing her thing.
Right.
And then you see and hear her with Seth. That's two different. We're talking about two different situations here, two different vocabularies, two different minds, and I just find it fascinating. And when you are able to, I wish we had more video of her. She was so remarkable. But I see the same thing in you.
Oh, well, thank you. Now, it's interesting that you bring her up because I was recently reminded, and I'm not saying this is absolutely true. I really can't say that this is what Seth was referring to, but it sure rings a bell for me. And somebody reminded me that there is actually a passage in book 2 of the early sessions by Jane Roberts and Seth on pages 21 and 22, where he seems to be making a reference to the possibility that someone like Bashar will be coming. I can actually read you.
Yeah, I want to hear it. I actually wrote it down to look it up. What does it say?
It says, telepathy will enable your race its first direct contact with alien intelligence. It will not at first be recognized as such. There is nothing any more strange about such contact than there is in my contact with you. But because you are so involved with camouflage, apparent reality, contact with such intelligence will be a startling discovery. The contact will be made from one male to another, although the alien male from another camouflage galaxy will be more involved than you could consider possible. Actual telepathy contact with this alien will occur in the not too distant future, and certainly no later than the year 2001.
Now, if he would have mentioned Jerry's Deli on Ventura Boulevard in Woodland Hills, I would definitely freak out.
So who knows if that's a reference to Bashar, but it certainly sounds similar.
That feels similar-ish, definitely. And when you read that, I mean, how do you react to it? My hair kind of stood up for a second. How do you react?
Well, yeah, a little bit, because through my process of practicing this and experiencing this over the years, there are definitely a number of these weird sort of little breadcrumbs that I've discovered along the way that paint a much different and larger picture behind the scenes that's going on about what this particular channeling is for me. And it's like I'm following these breadcrumbs and putting a whole puzzle together. And it keeps coming up with these weird little things like this that go, oh, is that a reference to this? And more and more, I usually find that they are a reference to this particular channeling. Not that there aren't references to other ones, but there is definitely something going on here with respect to the idea of an extraterrestrial civilization making contact with Earth. So it's quite possible in my mind that, you know, synchronicity and other beings will have picked up on this unfoldment and may have mentioned it here and there. So it's quite possible.
Now, and this is dumb question number 2, kind of going back to Jane, in that with you, you know, you and I speak, and I hear you speak, and then Bashar comes into play, 2 different vocabularies. Oh, yeah. Do you ever go back and listen to Bashar and go, I never said that word. What? Where did that come from?
In the early days, sure. I mean, I'm used to it now in terms of the way he uses the language that's embedded in my head, since I'm functioning as a translation device, more or less.
Sure.
But yeah, in the beginning, it was that's just not the way I talk, not the way I jumble words around or juggle them in such an unusual way. It's 2 totally different styles of approach.
Now, dumb question number 3, and then that'll be it.
How many are you allowed tonight?
Well, it's me, Darryl. I got a pocket full. Okay. Do you ever slip up? Does Bashar ever take control? You're at Starbucks, and something slips out. Well, you understand the question, though.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. It's always by agreement. It's never an interruption. It's never an interference in my own life. That would be pointless. And again, remember, if he needs to deliver information to me, he can just download it telepathically. I don't have to go into the full altered state. Right. I only do that in order for him to talk to all of you.
Now, there are some things that there's a lot of advice that comes with Bashar. And sure. Have you altered your own lifestyle? Because you're speaking to an audience. Right, Bashar, I should say Bashar is speaking to an audience. But what about the advice? The advice on life or diet or, decaffeinated half-calf latte, no soy, whatever. Yeah. Do you apply those to your own life?
I do as much as I possibly can. Certainly my life has changed radically in terms of following his suggestions to act on my passion and so on and so forth. There's definitely more synchronicity in my life, sometimes wildly so, and things are getting more effortless. Things are expanding in ways that they never have before. Every single time, and this is what I was sort of saying earlier, is the proof is not about who Bashar is or isn't, whether it's a real alien or my own consciousness. The proof is in the information. When you apply the information, and I've heard this from other people who've also applied it, you do get an effect. Your life does change. Things happen differently. So yes, absolutely, I apply the information where and when I possibly can. And I definitely get a result that is much, much more expanded and favorable and joyful and creative than I had in my life before I started channeling.
This just popped up in Twitter. I was going to ask it anyway. Let's do it now.
Sure.
This is from Native Alien. And is there going to be any live streaming of Bashar at the Conscious Life Expo?
Unfortunately, I cannot answer that question because I don't handle the technical side and I don't know what the Conscious Life Expo has set up. So I'm not sure.
Okay. Now, I'm going to be, everybody knows I'm going to be at Conscious Life Expo, but I am definitely going to be there for Darryl, Anka, and Bashar. And that is, you're going to be doing 2 different sessions, right? When's the first one?
On Sunday, February 24th at 6 o'clock to 7:30 p.m. And on Monday, February 25th, starting at 8, probably going till about 9:30 or 10.
And I've seen you do this before, but just for the audience before we get to the break, are you introduced as Darryl or are you introduced as Bashar? When you come out on the stage,
I am introduced as Darryl, the channel for Bashar.
So, and then you get into the zone.
And then I go in. Yes, it only takes me at this point, about 60 seconds to go into the altered state, and for Bashar to come through, say hi, talk about whatever subject he's going to talk about for a while, and then he usually opens it up to questions and answers from the audience.
Yeah, it's the best part too. Your eyelids. What are you seeing at that moment? Yeah,
and so I'm
that's
seeing
right.
Images, abstract sometimes literal, what he's describing, symbolic, sometimes just colors, shapes. It just depends on what it is that he's actually communicating to another person about. So it can be abstract, it can be literal, it just depends on what the conversation is.
It almost sounds like an e-ticket back in the day, right? Disneyland.
Oh, yeah. You just gave our age away.
Yeah, I did, didn't I? You understood. Yes.
I did.
But it must be like that. It must be exciting and fun at the same time.
Absolutely. And in the channeling state, time is very collapsed. So, for example, if I channel for an hour, when I come out, if I actually had to guess how much time it feels like has passed, it's usually only about a third, maybe 20 minutes or so, that feels like I've been there. So time is very collapsed for me. It's a very dynamic, energetic, like I said, a daydream kind of state. It's a lot of fun. And I can actually have a separate conversation with him while he's talking to someone else. That's another wonderful bonus about being in that state. So I can ask my own questions and I can get information from him at the same time that he's carrying on a conversation with someone in the audience.
Fascinating. Let's take a break right here, Darryl. We'll do this really quick. Our guest tonight, Darryl Anka. We're talking Bashar. We're also going to discuss 2019, his film, First Contact. It's going to be one of those nights here on Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Stay right there. We'll be right back after this short break.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Come join us for the 2019 Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles at the LAX Hilton. This year, we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of Chariots of the Gods with Eric Von Daniken, and I'll be hosting the panel with Eric, Linda Moulton Howe, Jason Martell, Billy Carson, and join George Norrie, Nassim Haramein, Robert Schock, Daniel Brinkley, Grant Cameron, Julia Mossbridge, and another 50 speakers who will be presenting at the 2019 Conscious Life Expo.
Just go to ConsciousLifeExpo.com for tickets and a full conference schedule, or click on the CLE banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied. But you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier, and this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier, and I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers, and you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
Reclaim your active lifestyle with Angioprim. Angioprim is the original liquid oral chelation supplement. Chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in your veins and arteries that can cause blockages. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. Find out more. Go to angioprim.com. Talk to a trained consultant by calling Angioprim toll-free 877-882-7221.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hey, it's Grace. Can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Darryl Anka is here. Tomorrow night, Horan Gee. Can't wait for tomorrow night. And then Wednesday night, Patrick Wood is here. Technocracy. It's going to be another great conversation with Patrick. Tonight, it is Darryl Anka. And Darryl,
yes.
Sunday night, will I be permitted to cut in line and ask a question?
Sure, why not?
Did you just snort on the air?
I love it. I love it. Okay. I do. Years ago, and I asked you about this before. I want to go back and address it one more time because you didn't really remember it. Just, maybe I can stir your memory. But years ago, I caught a Bashar statement on time travel. Mm-hmm. And this was so profound to me that I went back and listened to it 3 or 4 times. It was about a 10-minute burst, right? It was pretty solid. Mm-hmm. And I study time travel, and this took me to a concept of time travel that I hadn't realized or heard of before, and it was amazing. Do you remember that?
I understand what he has said about it, yes.
Because you just brought up, that he was a time travel and the compression of time right before the break, and it just got me thinking about that. What is Bashar's take on time travel?
His take is that it's different than our science fiction concept of it. In other words, from his perspective, everything exists simultaneously. What we call the past exists right now. What we call the future exists right now. In other words, there are multiple probable pasts, multiple probable presents, multiple probable futures, all coexisting in existence, sort of side by side right now. So the idea is, if you create an ability, whether it's a technology or simply a biological innate ability, to shift yourself from what you believe to be your normal time stream into what we typically call the past. He's saying it isn't your past. It's simply another parallel reality that you're going into. It has nothing to do with your history per se, because that already exists. And going there is simply introducing yourself into someone else's history. So let's say you're 10 years old, you take a picture of yourself. Then you grow up and you ostensibly build what you're calling a time machine. And you take a picture of yourself at 30 years old next to the time machine.
Right.
Then you get in the machine and you say, all right, I'm going to go back and I'm going to visit my 10-year-old self. So you do that. And you take a picture of yourself, your 30-year-old self, with what appears to be your 10-year-old self. Well, Bashar says, but look at what you actually have. You have a photograph of a 10-year-old, a photograph of a 30-year-old in a time machine, and a photograph of a 30-year-old standing next to a 10-year-old that looks a lot like your own 10-year-old. But those photographs all exist at the same time. You didn't change the first photo. That photo exists of the 10-year-old alongside the photo of you at 30 and the 10-year-old. So you haven't gone into your own past. You have simply gone into another 10-year-old's past that happens to be in a parallel reality that's so similar to what you remember that you can't tell the difference.
What if that happened, just like you just described, right? And you then, your 30-year-old self gives your 10-year-old self Van Halen 1 in 1975,
Sure.
right? Before Van Halen 1 comes out. Now your 10-year-old self is learning Eddie Van Halen guitar licks.
But it's not yourself. You have simply given that to a 10-year-old in another reality. That becomes part of that reality's history.
So in that reality's history, our history, Eddie Van Halen is still God. In this alternate, right? Am I right? In this alternate version, I turn out to be the guitar god.
Yeah, however that works. But he's changing the history of some other reality, or
Right.
not even changing it. He's simply becoming a part of the history of some other reality. So that 10-year-old kid says when he grows up is, hey, you know, this 30-year-old guy showed up when I was 10 and he gave me this music, and isn't this cool? It's not your history. That's not what happened in your timeline frameworks. It's just another series of frames, just like you have frames on a film strip. The frame from what you just saw in terms of that part of the film has passed through the projector. And now you're looking at a different frame. But the old frame is still part of the film strip. It hasn't gone away.
Right.
Just because you're looking at another frame doesn't negate the first frame. They all exist simultaneously.
Okay, I'm down with that then. I want to be Eddie Van Halen in a parallel existence. I mean,
go ahead.
Well, if you know what I'm saying,
I do.
Yeah, I find that it's so fascinating. And if we apply that, then would that application be possible in infinite?
Well, whatever's relevant to the life that you chose as a theme, sure. Usually not beyond that. Although the choices are overall infinite, what's finite are the choices that are relevant for the life path this particular version of you has chosen to experience. In other words, you're going to experience a certain number of frames that have to do with who you are, whereas another version of you is experiencing different frames. Now, the thing that most people don't quite understand is we are actually doing this already. In other words, to create what we consider to be a timeline is actually the result of skipping all over the place into different parallel realities, creating a timeline from frames that could be in several different kinds of parallel timelines, but we perceive it as a smooth linear continuity because that's the illusion we impose on the fact that we're choosing all these different frames from different parallel realities.
Do those frames ever slip out and come back over to where they shouldn't be?
It's not the frames that are moving, it's your consciousness that's moving through the frames.
But would that be a real experience?
Can you describe what you mean by that?
Yeah, what I mean is something that alternate timeline, that other reality that has been altered, does it ever bleed over into our existing timeline?
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. What we consider to be our existing reality is actually made of a number of bleed-throughs from other realities and vice versa.
Would that cause false memories, or what we would perceive as false memories?
Absolutely. What people are now referring to as the Mandela effect can be the result of our consciousness expanding enough to start realizing that we're actually experiencing a multitude of parallel realities in what we consider to be one reality.
I have the most classic example of this, one that I'm not going to let go of, and it's a very simple one. Today's the anniversary of the Challenger disaster, right?
Right.
Okay. That happened in January 1986.
As we remember it.
Thank you so much, Darryl. Thank you for that. Because I know exactly when it happened to me, which was in 1985. Because in 1985, I lived in Pasadena. I had a singer that lived at my house for about 3 months in 1985 that didn't have a car. I had to drive him to work every day. And after that little 3-month period, he moved out and went on with his life, right? Okay, so during that period of 1985, the early version of this band, I came home, turned on the TV after driving him to work at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I watched the Challenger disaster in real time.
Right.
A couple of years ago on this show, when the Mandela effect started to kick in, and callers were calling in with these different things and different, and the Challenger, I said, oh, yeah, that happened in 1985. No, it didn't. It happened in 1986. Right. And my response was, that is impossible. I know exactly. I know exactly where I was.
Yeah, both are true.
And I can't. I'm not going to let my mind change. I know exactly what I was doing.
And that's okay because that's your series of frames. So what we're now seeing, and again, first of all, let me back up and just give this caveat. Just to acknowledge all possibilities, it is possible that sometimes people's memories are faulty. That's true. Sure. However, we're seeing too much of this for it to all be faulty memory, especially in very specific circumstances like what you just described, where you absolutely know for a fact for yourself when and how something happened. And other people know for a fact for themselves equally when and how something happened that's different than what you recall. In those very specific cases, we are seeing that effect of overlapping parallel realities, and it's an indication of how different people's frequencies are now starting to chart courses in different parallel realities. This is one of the things that Bashar has talked about recently that is now accelerating in 2019, is our world is literally becoming aware that we are splitting into different parallel time tracks. Even as we can still sort of interact with each other, we are actually starting to experience a split into different time tracks that will eventually, according to him, leave each of those time tracks being so separate from one another that we will no longer, in the years to come, experience anyone in a different time track.
I feel today, going back to like Superman and Bizarro World, right?
Yes.
I feel exactly that. Where it was all fun and games when we, read about it and talked about it. But I think we're definitely right there right now.
Now it's happening. Yeah. And now we're experiencing it. So this, to Bashar, is a natural result of the expansion of consciousness. Because remember that as a greater consciousness, we are aware of and experience simultaneously many different parallel realities. So as physical beings and our physical minds start to expand to become more like our higher minds, our non-physical selves, we're going to start having this bleed through of the things that are very typically experienced by higher dimensional beings, non-corporeal beings, because we're starting to be able to open up to the fact that these things are possible. And so our reality is becoming more slippery. It's time and space are becoming more flexible and more malleable and are not as rigid as they used to be for us anymore.
Is Bashar aware, or has he commented on or shared any information on the disclosure that started to go down back in December of 2017 with the New York Times and all of these revelations that were coming forward about the UFO subject that went into mainstream for about 2 or 3 months last year? It seemed like things were about to break out. Did Bashar have any comments on that?
Yeah, he said that's another testing of the waters, just to see what our reactions are. It's still in mid-process. We're not completely ready for this yet, but it's kind of a paradox from his point of view, because in a sense, disclosure, whether or not any particular official agency actually comes out and spills all the beans,
right?
They might let a little out here and a little out there. And there are apparently people working from the inside trying to get the information to the outside. But he's basically saying, look, we're having all these kinds of conversations like you and I are having right now. Mm-hmm. And more people are picking up on these kinds of conversations. So in a sense, disclosure is happening on different levels. And by the time these kinds of conversations reach a certain level of commonality, you start to realize that many, many more people than are talking about it have had experiences. Because I run into this all the time. When I start talking in a group of people, if it happens to come up about the fact that I had a UFO sighting and all that, suddenly a lot of people in that group feel comfortable talking about the fact that they've also had experiences and UFO sightings. So to me, it's the biggest secret that everyone already knows. And it's kind of going to reach a proportion where I think one day we just all look at each other and go, you know what? We all know this is happening. Disclosure has happened with us. Because to us, this is real now. And now we're all finally just getting to the point where we can admit it and talk about it. And it's in the open, and that's disclosure. Regardless of whether any government agencies ever add to it or not, disclosure will happen on one level or another just because of attrition and all the different people that are beginning to know and be willing to talk about the fact that they know this stuff is going on.
Well, and we have been told for years that disclosure or knowledge of ET and UFOs would freak us out to the point planet-wide that the Vatican would collapse and Wall Street would collapse, anarchy in the streets, pandemonium, starvation, murder, riots.
Yeah. And for one or more than one parallel version of Earth, that is probably true. But the idea is that we're attempting to navigate ourselves away from that version.
Well, and it certainly didn't happen, did it, last year? When
not in our version. That's the idea. But you always have to remember that doesn't mean it's not happening in another version. And certainly it would happen for certain individuals who simply can't handle that idea. But that's okay. That's why by having these conversations and bringing it all out in the open and people making choices, that they want a reality that moves in that direction, then we start steering ourselves and navigating ourselves and shifting ourselves to different versions of Earth that already exist, in which those ideas are commonplace. So remember, you never change the world you're on. Bashar is saying you change yourself and you shift to an already existing version of Earth that is already reflective of the change you made within yourself. The old version of Earth is still there. You're just not focused on it anymore.
Did Bashar, was he happy? Was he proud of our reaction? I mean, we handled it pretty well. Did he have any comments on that?
Well, yes, again, it's an indication that the people that responded well to it are absorbing the information in a way that navigates them closer and closer and closer to the version of Earth that is having open contact.
Right.
So it's a good sign for that in his eyes.
Well, and you had 34 years ago, I still picture you going down the 405 freeway, coming into the valley and having this sighting. And I got to tell you, Darryl, you polluted me. Because now every time I come over the 405, I'm waiting. Right?
I know. That was 45 years ago.
45 years ago, and I'm just expecting something over the Marriott Hotel there at Vich. By the way, that's where Coast to Coast AM is, right? It's on that corner too.
I know, it's very odd.
Very odd.
The amount of things that actually have happened in that hotel where I saw Bashar's ship the first time is very synchronistically weird. Yeah.
Yeah, and so when this disclosure started to bust out, into the mainstream media, how did it make you feel personally? Were you just you personally? Were you like, okay, finally?
Oh, absolutely, because a lot of us were feeling quite alone with all this kinds of information for quite a number of years. So when it started to be something that was a subject of public discussion, then you start going, okay, I'm actually seeing a difference. I'm seeing things change. It may be changing somewhat slowly, but it's changing and moving in the correct direction as far as the world I would like to experience. So definitely that makes a difference.
Last summer, I got a series of phone calls from a caller up in Sunland on the hill, right, next to Burbank. Right. And he was telling us that during the day, he would sit out on his patio, look up the 101 to the 405, right? Mm-hmm. And he was watching three triangles above Ventura Boulevard and Sepulveda from Sunland. And he called in at like 3 weeks in a row and said, I just go out there and nobody talks about it. I don't know why these sightings are getting reported, but there's three black triangles out above the 405 and the 101.
Well, and remember, there can be several different reasons, because it might be people see them and don't want to talk about it, but in a lot of cases, people don't see them. They can give off a very specific frequency, and if a person happens to be matching that frequency, they can see them. I mean, this is similar to what happened when I and the people that were in my car with me had the sighting. We could see it. We looked around at all the other drivers. Nobody else was looking up at this thing. So I'm not really sure that they actually were even able to see it. It might have just been for us. I don't know.
Steve Murillo, who ran MoveOn here in Los Angeles for 13 years, he now has UPARs in Studio City. They meet every month. But he made contact. I don't want to get too specific here because this individual has disappeared for reasons I'm about to explain. Studio City, professional, in the medical field. I don't want to go further with that. Him and his partner out in front of their home in Studio City videotaped a black triangle hovering above their house. Right. He reached out to Steve, showed Steve the video. I have not seen it. Was one of the most profound things he had ever seen, right? We were ready to go forward with this. This individual and his partner have disappeared. They will not talk about it. Again, Black Triangle, Valley, Studio City. No reports about it in the news, but it's on videotape.
Yeah, it actually took many, many years. In fact, this actually only happened within the last couple of years that I met another person who saw what I saw on the same day that I saw it. It took a long time for me to find someone else who had seen the same thing on the same day. But, both of my sightings were the same. They were broad daylight sightings of a equilateral dark triangle very close. So, it does happen. But whether people talk about it or whether they are even able to know that it's there just depends on what the purpose of that sighting is.
Now, back to Bashar and all of these black triangles that we are talking about right now in our neighborhood here, the Valley, in the San Fernando Valley. Bashar's comments on this, is the government aware? This is a very direct question. Does he know if the government is aware of what is going on right over the valley? Are they in possession of this knowledge? Is he in contact with the government?
He is probably not in direct contact, but the first thing I would say about that statement is it depends on what you mean by the word government. Because obviously there are different factions, some of which have nothing to do with what we recognize as the official government. So, yes, there are those factions that are aware of what's going on. I don't think everyone in the official government knows what's going on, because I think that the factions that are investigating and are aware probably work very hard to make sure that the official government doesn't know about it.
So I guess the next question would be, is Bashar or anybody else around him, are they sharing information from somebody in an official capacity?
I do not know. It would be a good question to ask him.
On Sunday, February 20th.
Sure. Go ahead. Because that would be a new line of conversation. I don't think anyone's ever asked him that. And usually until someone asks him a direct pointed question, he has no reason to talk about it. So I'd be just as curious to see what his answer would be.
We've got to hit a break in 1 minute, and you just brought up a great point. So we'll answer this as quick as we can, which is, so many critics out there will say, well, channelers that are doing this never answer anything directly. They answer it in generalities. It's the exact opposite with Bashar.
Yes, he's very direct, very pointed, very grounded, very blunt.
Very blunt. And can I say he's pretty funny?
He is. He uses humor because he understands that it's a better way to deliver information. I'm not saying he'll answer every single question directly, because some things are simply not appropriate for him to answer, especially publicly. But generally speaking, he gives people extremely detailed, pointed information.
Let's take a break right here, Darryl. Fantastic conversation. And when we come back, Darryl, I've got an entire library of questions that have been fed to me from the audience. Some of them are really good. And we'll get to those next. It's Fade to Black. Our guest, Darryl Anka. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Tappy. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Darryl Anka. We're talking Bashar all night, so stay right there on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. I do have a lot of questions here that are posted up in Twitter. I want to remind everybody, all of Darryl's links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. That's bashar.org. whatisfirstcontact.com, ziafilms.com, and darrylanka.com. They're all right there, and you can just go click and check everything out. I wanted to ask you about First Contact with the scientific stuff that you present in the film, which is all very direct. What was the reaction from the scientific community on how you presented it, if any?
I can't answer that specifically. I haven't talked to, well, okay, that's actually not true. I just remembered I have had a few conversations with some people who are physicists who are also open-minded enough to not completely just throw these ideas out without thinking about them. I think the fact that we did present so much information in a sort of grounded, practical, scientific way made them sort of think about it more deeply than they otherwise would have. We got a lot of comments from various people that because I myself answered a lot of questions and was interviewed in the documentary and explained a lot of things as myself and not just listening to Bashar, many people felt that that gave the documentary more credibility, because when they could see me talking, I appeared to be a normal person who was making logical sense about it. So I think that helped them at least be somewhat open to the ideas in there and allow them to at least think them through rather than just dismissing them out of hand.
The entire scientific community right now, when it comes to physicists, astrophysicists, cosmologists, theoretical physicists, you pick one. As they move along in their research, they're finding out that they don't know much. And they're trying to figure out these answers that are starting to get more and more complex just when they thought they had a grip on things. Einstein presented a very elegant solution, and it seemed solid. And not that that is coming apart, but it is not answering the questions that they are facing today. And that is entanglement and the quantum questions and the expansion, dark energy and dark matter and this stuff and parallel worlds and the multiverses, right?
Yeah, the whole quantum mechanics point of view and beyond. And there are a few, I think there are, a few cutting edge physicists and scientists who certainly realize that, we're far from knowing everything. And that's what's exciting for them too, that there's always something more to discover. But, talking sort of going back to the question you asked before, relative to just Bashar and not so much the documentary, there have been physicists who have had private sessions with Bashar, and they've always walked away very happy with the answers and information that he's given them. So I know that there are some physicists who get it, and when they're willing to listen, they actually find that he provides them with very interesting and unique advanced points of view that they take back into their work. So while I understand they don't want to necessarily share with their colleagues where they're getting that information
right.
But they're very willing to get it and very willing to apply it. There are a couple of physicists who are trying to gather a group of physicists together who might be open enough to actually have a panel of physicists talk with Bashar. That would be very exciting.
Yeah, I can't see somebody, that's very interesting, Dr. Smith. Where did you come up with that? Well, me and Darryl Anka were hanging out.
We were chatting.
I just don't think it would be wonderful if it did happen. I'm going to get to some of these questions here really quick. This is from Josh. And he says, hey, Jimmy, can you ask Darryl if Bashar works directly with the Galactic Federation of Light? How many times have you been asked that question?
A million.
Yes.
Bashar, we're a little bit confused here about terminologies because, people talk about, the Galactic Federation of Light, the Association of Worlds. Bashar calls it the Interstellar Alliance. The short answer is yes, but it's anyone's guess what everyone means or what the exact configuration of such federations and alliances actually are that he's referring to. He could be referring to what Josh has heard referred to as a Federation of Light. He could be referring to that and or something else, and many different kinds of groups and associations of extraterrestrial civilizations that are all working within positive energy. So little hard to pinpoint whether the Federation Josh knows about or has heard about is exactly the same alliance that Bashar has referred to, but he has referred to those kinds of alliances that are very positively oriented. If that can be called or construed to be the same Federation of Light, then the answer is yes.
I believe I've asked you this before, but just for a refresher, I know that Bashar is above us right now. I understand that. But is he from our galaxy?
He's not from our reality. He's from a parallel universe.
Okay, but there's a location.
Yes, if we were to overlap the version of the Milky Way galaxy in his parallel reality with our galaxy, his solar system, which obviously would be invisible to us because he's in a parallel reality, is about 500 light years in the direction of the Orion constellation. That's what he has said is the best locator for the overlap of the two realities.
Well, that's interesting. Okay, so inside of our Milky Way and not an adjacent or another galaxy.
Well, another parallel reality, because remember, all realities are here. So everything is overlapping. All the different parallel realities, in a sense, are overlapping.
Okay, I'm trying to, I was just feeling smart.
Well, just imagine let's say a print of a galaxy on a clear sheet of plastic.
Right.
So then take another and just keep piling them on top of one another. That's a rough, crude analogy of the idea of the different parallel realities. In truth, they would all be, in a sense, interpenetrating. But if they're operating on a different frequency than we are, then they can occupy what is ostensibly, quote unquote, not literally, but quote unquote, the same space, but they're in a different frequency. It's sort of similar to the idea Bashar uses as an analogy all the time. If you're watching a television program, you know that there are hundreds of other programs playing simultaneously. You just don't see them because you're not tuned to that frequency.
Right.
But when you change the channel, you get a different program. That doesn't mean the program you were watching a second ago isn't still playing, but you can no longer see it because that's not the frequency you're tuned to. So he's basically saying reality is kind of structured this way. Everything is separated or seemingly separated by the different frequencies of those different realities, but they all overlap. They all share the same basic idea of here and now.
Here's a question from Jace that I can guarantee you have never been asked.
Okay.
When Bashar is speaking, does he ever include Darryl in the conversation? Does he ever include him, like use the terms us or we?
Yes. Except more often than not, when Bashar uses the term we, he's not often referring to him and I, but he's referring to all the other beings he's telepathically in touch with during that conversation. However, he does sometimes actually refer to me specifically by name if someone is asking a question about me. He will say the channel or he will say Darryl.
So he's actually said something like, well, I said to Darryl before, blah,
Yes.
blah, blah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
This is from Bogey. Jimmy, please ask Darryl his view on some view channeling as a sin against God and that the only thing you're connecting to is demonic of nature, not divine.
I have a very unusual answer to that question because I've thought about this a lot. And the first thing I need to say is, the questioner, please understand I'm not directing this at you. But I understand why this question is asked. To me, and again, please, I'm not trying to offend anyone, that is a racist question. Because the idea that someone born on another planet would automatically be assumed to be demonic kind of goes hand in hand with how other races on this planet were considered also to be demonic in the early days.
Mm-hmm.
So the very idea to me is the complete opposite of the energy that we would recognize as a God point of view. The idea is, why would someone automatically assume that these kinds of connections are negative instead of assuming that they're positive to begin with? Because to me, that says more about the energy of the person than it does about the energy of the entity.
The idea of evil, right, or demonic, duality. We can just go with that, right?
Negative. That's fine.
Right,
Negative. Yeah,
right.
I understand that.
Is Bashar, has he commented on that there is also bad versions of not necessarily him, but of other civilizations that are off-world?
Yes, of course. There is positive and negative from his point of view at every single level of existence, because all that is literally all that is. God, goddess, all that is, whatever you want to call it, contains everything. But the thing he also reminds us of is it's not just a duality, it's a trinity, because there's always a balance point between the two, and that's what we're striving to achieve. is to understand it's not about doing away with the negative side. It's about acknowledging that it's there, but validating that it has a place in existence without necessarily preferring to choose to express it. Staying in that balance point is what the opportunity is, the choice that we're given in existence to choose what we really prefer, to be out of alignment or in alignment with the idea of existence or creation. So I can also just take another tack here and say, if somebody wants to start quoting the energy of the Bible or some other religious text in this context, well, one quote from the Bible is, by their fruits you shall know them. So the idea is, for 35 years, Bashar has been delivering extremely self-empowering, positive, constructive, uplifting information that has helped countless numbers of people. If that's demonic, and people want to call that demonic, then I think they're kind of confused about what energy demonic is. Because, to me, it's when something tries to control, says, I'm the only way, you're wrong, you will, suffer for not believing like I believe. That, to me, is a classically, quote unquote, demonic style energy. So I think we can both go by the idea that Bashar's information being positively oriented would completely preclude the idea that this is any kind of a negative-based or fear-based entity.
And what do we do about trust? And trusting what we are hearing from, I'm thinking not only with Bashar, but like going back to childhood's end, with Arthur C. Clarke, where we've got the guardian angel.
Sure.
It's right there, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, trust is something we always have in something. We either trust one thing to be true or we trust something else to be true, and that can change. So it's not so much about having to learn to trust. It's about trusting in what you prefer. So again, Bashar never insists, and this again to me is one of the points of the positive energy he gives off. He absolutely never insists that anyone has to believe anything he says. He is sharing information that works for their civilization. He is saying, I know it can work for you if you want to apply it, but he doesn't really care whether we do or not, because he is respectful enough of us to let us make our own decision. It's one of the reasons why they share information at arm's length and don't force us to believe that he's actually a real extraterrestrial. He's giving us the opportunity to decide for ourselves what works for us and what doesn't work for us. He has his own life to live. He's not trying to live our lives for us. He is just sharing what works in his reality because he knows it can work in ours if we apply it. But he completely and utterly leaves that up to us. And from my point of view, that's an extremely self-empowering, positive point of view.
I've got so many amazing questions here. I'm going to stay on this and we'll shift at the top of the hour. This is from Sarah Ann. Sarah says, I sense that there is a wave of women waking up memories of being taken for the hybridization program, and now being called to heal and connect with hybrid children who might be similar to the Essassani. Jimmy, please ask Darryl if Bashar has spoken on this.
Oh, he's spoken at length on this. There are probably many recordings that he's done in sessions about the whole hybridization program, which ultimately, in his point of view, is simply one of the ways that people evolve. But this is a very long story and a very deep story. And the awakening to the fact that this is happening is part of what Bashar refers to as Earth becoming the sixth hybrid race. It started, from his point of view, a long time ago with a parallel version of Earth where the humans destroyed themselves, destroyed their world pretty much, became incapable of reproducing and mutated themselves in order to survive, mutated themselves into what we now call the Greys. So from Bashar's point of view, the Greys used to be human, but since they lost the ability to reproduce, destroyed their genetic ability to reproduce, in order to continue their civilization, they had to find viable sources of human DNA. Well, the closest sources of human DNA that were still viable were in parallel realities such as ours. So they used their advanced technology to come here and other parallel versions of Earth, get DNA from people who had, at least on some higher level, agreed to participate. Whether their physical minds remember that or not is another issue, but agreed to participate in this agenda, not only for the perpetuation of their civilization by creating hybrid beings that could reproduce and regained emotionality and regained clarity and balance, but also then to have those hybrids share their information with versions of Earth such as ours, because they notice that we might actually be going down a similar path of destruction. And if they can give us information that will help us avoid the same fate that the Greys experienced, then the idea is they're a gift to us as well to help us navigate into more positive realities. It's a very, very complex story, but that's sort of a nutshell version of it.
And we showed up, you and I, right? Homo sapien sapien, 150,000 years ago, which is a blink of an eye. Was that part of, our sudden appearance here on this planet? Is that an example of not only hybrids, but this transfer of DNA?
Well, yeah, from a different species altogether, an earlier species, which I think Bashar has said is actually more like 300,000 to 500,000 years ago, where Homo sapiens were the result of the genetic infusion of extraterrestrial genetics into the naturally evolved hominid at the time, which we typically refer to as either Homo habilis or Homo erectus.
Right.
But according to him, there have actually been different hybridizations at different points. But based on what we just said, from his point of view, humans, Homo sapien, to begin with, is a hybrid being.
So Australopithecus is out. Right. And I've always thought when I just look at skulls and I look at craniums, I can myself safely eliminate a lot of different situations. And then I look at us and I go, wait a minute here. We talk about a missing link. Well, we're talking about tens of millions of years of evolution that would have had to have occurred, but there isn't anything similar to us before that. And the only answer to that is exactly what you're saying. As crazy as that sounds, but I'm comfortable with it.
Well, yeah, and Bashar's actually taken it even further because he basically said that, not every single branch of Homo habilis or Homo erectus was genetically altered. Homo sapien is the result of a few alterations in some of the branches.
Right.
The ones that were not altered evolved into what we now call Sasquatch. So he's basically saying that if the ETs had not injected their DNA, we would all be Sasquatch today. That's the naturally evolved hominid of the Earth.
I could see that too as well. And that's very interesting. I almost went off on an interdimensional part of Sasquatch, which would also answer the alternate timeline aspect of it too as well.
Right.
And speaking of that, this is from F2 Schwartz. Any thoughts on the idea that time doesn't exist and that we're following along a set of frames that already exist, but that consciousness is also expanding? I'm wondering if he can explain how we create, yet simultaneously, time doesn't exist.
Yes. Well, time exists as a projection, as an illusion, as an effect, as an experience. It is an illusion, but we do experience it as a projection of consciousness, one way to perceive ourselves. But I understand what he means.
Yeah, what do we do? But what happens to free will then?
Well, no. I'm continuing.
Okay.
The idea from Bashar's point of view is there is a fixed structure to existence. That's what he calls the 5 laws. That is actually a description of the structure of existence, which never changes. What changes, what expands, is our perspective and our experience of the structure that never changes. So he's correct in the idea that there is both. There is the structure that's fixed. There is our interaction with the structure, which is not fixed. So that's where you get the idea both of destiny and free will, because it's up to us to choose how we interact with the structure that doesn't change and make the changes in our experience and our perspective that allows creation to experience expansion within itself. So both of those ideas, destiny and free will, actually work hand in hand to expose the existence of a structure that doesn't change and an experience that constantly does change and never stops changing and never stops expanding.
Do you ever ask yourself, Darryl, out of everybody on this planet, and this is from Mark in Australia, but why you?
Well, yeah, that question was actually answered quite simply by Bashar himself, because, again, this is the linear way of answering it. Bashar is my future self. It's like saying it's the same soul in this life and in a future life. Therefore, it's just what this soul happens to be doing. It happens to be able to communicate with a past version of itself and share information. But again, as we said before, this is happening from one parallel reality to another. Again, the simultaneity of existence, again, makes it apparent that, if we are different expressions of the same larger soul being, be it a soul, an oversoul, or whatever you want to call it, then this is simply something that this particular soul being has decided to do, and this is the way it has decided to express itself, as if a conversation is happening between a past and a future self.
So you're suggesting that Bashar is up in the ship right above the 405 45 years ago, and a crew member is going, okay, so what are we doing again? Bashar says, we're waiting for this guy, Darryl Anka. He's going to be driving down the hill at this specific time, and we need to chase him down. I need to make contact.
Right, because it's me in another life.
So
he's finishing that sentence. It's me in another life. Because, see, this is what Bashar and his people do. Bashar is a first contact specialist. And what the first contact specialists in their society do, if they're going to make contact, or there's a likelihood they're going to make contact with a particular civilization, they always or almost always choose to actually have an incarnation in that civilization. Without that experience to draw from, they would be too alien to understand our culture.
Right.
So he's understanding our culture through my experience of it. And that's what allows him to be able to relate to us and speak to our issues, is he has a version of himself that actually is having an experience in this reality, which is me.
So they have a first contact checklist or laws or bylaws?
They have protocols.
Yeah,
yes.
right. Oh, that's fascinating. Let's take a break right here. Let me see. Let's go ahead and take a break. Darryl Anka is our guest. We are talking Bashar. And you know what, Darryl, I'm just going to let you know I opened up a can of worms. These questions are coming in like you wouldn't believe. So maybe we'll just stay right there. They're pretty good. Our guest tonight, Darryl Anka. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up, standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, limescale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-717-WAVE, 888-717-WAVE, or visit dryhealthyhome.com. dryhealthyhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Darryl Anka is here. I've got way too many questions from all of you. Way too many. But I've decided I'm going to go ahead and stay on this track. And also, email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. I noticed everybody's comments about my headphone change on the video cameras. Okay, yes, I did. I had to change. These are the Ashdown meters, and they are amazing. They sound too good. When I switch from the Sonys to these live during the show, they sound too good. And I had to go back to my trusty old Sonys. You know how it is, Darryl, when you're listening to a set of headphones that you're used to, and then you go to something that is much better, and they just sound too good. Well, you're going to go back and change things that have been adjusted, and it may not be for the better, right? You need to adjust. And I did that. Everybody watched me. What? Weren't they any good? But anyway, so that's what was going on. I hope that answers everybody's concerns about that. These questions are really, really, really good, Darryl. And this one, You and I were talking earlier today. I was going to ask you about this. I'm glad that this popped up in Twitter. This is from Simlinks, and the question is this. Thoughts about the signals coming from the direction of Orion lately? Does Bashar know anything about this? We've got fast radio bursts being detected all over the place now, Darryl. What's going on?
Yeah, I have heard that, but I'm sorry, no one has asked Bashar about it yet, so I don't know what he would say.
Conscious Life Expo, Sunday, February 25th. Yeah, okay. I will take. Can I ask more than one question?
Well, I don't know. We got to be fair to everyone.
I know, right? You know, I'm a microphone hog, man.
Bashar might have something to say about that.
Yeah, what do you think about these fast radio bursts? I mean, this is a question to Darryl. It's pretty exciting stuff. Yeah,
they're fascinating. It could represent many different kinds of things. I would be just again as curious to see what Bashar's take on it is.
It's a good day to be an astronomer.
It is. A lot of stuff happening.
A lot of stuff happening. For me, and this just goes back a few short years, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, we were wondering if there were any planets out there. Today,
there's thousands now.
Well, thousands, 4,500 confirmed, 9,000 on the list waiting for inclusion, right, in the list. But now they're saying in the neighborhood of, in the Milky Way, 100 billion planets. 100 billion. That's insane to me.
It is. It's can't all be empty.
No. And if you just go with a numbers game here and go pull out a number, okay, well, let's just say 1%.
Yeah.
Well, we're dealing with 100 million Earth-like planets. Yeah. It's an insane number. Okay, next. This is from Randy. Randy says, Jimmy, please ask if we as thinking beings now use quantum mechanics, will move into scalar rules and dynamics using intent and focus to create from sheer thought or consciousness.
But we already do that. We're already creating our realities with our belief systems and our consciousness. So while there may ultimately be a technological representation of that, we're already doing it. And I think the idea of what science discovers is usually just reflective of something we're already doing but don't know we're doing. So it's not always necessarily about having to invent something outside in the scientific world to know that what science is sometimes doing is just discovering something that we're actually already doing biologically or energetically with our consciousness. So we are already creating our reality with our belief systems and our consciousness.
And when you hear science today say, you know what, the only thing that makes all of this math work is a parallel situation. The only way that freaky, action from a distance can work is, and when they are suggesting this, and they don't have it, they've got to expand their questions. They got to go outside of the box, or we don't move forward.
Yeah, I'm glad you actually mentioned that one particular thing, that whole entanglement issue, because from Bashar's perspective, there's actually a slight misunderstanding about what that means, because from his perspective, when Einstein said he didn't really believe in spooky action at a distance.
Right. Oh, yeah, spooky. I said freaky. Same thing.
Well, freaky, spooky, action at a distance is the key phrase. Bashar is saying he's actually right, because it's entanglement does not, according to Bashar, entanglement does not demonstrate action at a distance. It demonstrates that distance is an illusion. Because everything is here and now. That's why it can be entangled. It's not actually far away.
Isn't that exactly the point? That if you are an advanced species or civilization that now understands this, then that would be a communication that would be at real time, no matter what the distance is. Exactly. And that's it. There isn't any other way to look at it, is there?
No, because the very most simplest way from Bashar's point of view of understanding is that if everything does exist all at once, then what we consider to be different moments in time are actually, in a sense, the same now moment from another point of view. So the very idea that we can experience what appear to be different moments from a single now moment already proves the idea that you have to have parallel realities in order to experience a multiple of anything, because there's actually only one thing.
Okay, which takes me to this next question from PJ. And if a person wanted to go to the past where they didn't exist and see others, reference a 10-year-old presence is understandable. Do you think there are two possibilities, self-past and the past whenever a person wants to channel?
I'm not quite sure I understand how the question is being asked.
Okay, if you
repeat it?
Yeah, if a person wanted to go to the past where they didn't exist and see others, referencing like this 10-year-old that you would go back and see.
Yes.
Okay, that is understandable. Do you think there are two possibilities, a self-past and the past whenever a person wants to channel, where that person is not there? They want to go to the past and channel that and see it, but not necessarily a past where they would exist.
Well, again, they're already shifting to a reality that they were not in.
So if I went back, let's flip this around.
The operative, sorry to interrupt you. The operative word is back. Back is a false statement. They're not going back. They're going across to another reality. It just appears that they're going back. That's the illusion. Because that other reality happens to look like what they consider to be their past doesn't mean they're actually going back. They're just going over to another reality that's side by side.
So Bashar being a time traveler, this comes in from Dan. Dan wants to know, can Bashar see our future?
Again, all these things exist, and the only thing that he can perceive are probabilities that have a lot of energy behind them and make them unlikely to shift. But again, all these probabilities exist simultaneously. He's just reading energy volume in these things to say this one's more likely, this one's less probable, but it's not the future because there is no one reality that represents our absolute future. So he's basically saying that all predictions are sensing of the energy that exists at the moment the prediction is made. You're not sensing the future, you're sensing the present. And if that energy doesn't change, then the probabilities are high that it will manifest in a way that you call the future. But he's basically saying all those things already exist, and it's just a matter of which one has the highest probability of energy of coming into manifestation according to your experience and your choices and your perspectives. So I hope that explains it. I know it can get a little complex, but that's the way he sees it.
Well, the answer that just popped up in Twitter, yes, yes, yes. So they're with you, Darryl. Let me. Okay, so what do we do with? I don't want to make you angry, but what do we do with those? What do we do with those Michael Shermers of the world, the Don Randys of the world? I go, you know what? Give me some lotto numbers, and then we can talk about this stuff. But until then,
yeah, this is what I was addressing earlier. Bless them, they have their point of view and they're perfectly fine for having it. But what I was saying is they're falling victim to the same thing that they're accusing the believers of doing. They're actually gullibly assuming that the typical mainstream definitions of what these phenomena are about are supposedly accurate. And so, or let's just say supposedly representative, and they're not representative. That's what I'm saying. The definitions we have of many of these metaphysical phenomena are outdated definitions that never really explain the causal mechanism that underlies them.
Sure.
So when someone like James Randi or Michael Shermer says, look, I can logically prove that the reason you're saying these things work isn't true, all they've done is disproven the mythological definition. they haven't disproven the causal mechanism because they don't even know what the causal mechanism is because they're not looking for it, because they assumed, like a lot of the people who do have metaphysical experiences, that the way we've been describing these things for thousands of years is actually an accurate description of what they are. And what I'm saying and what Bashar is saying, these descriptions we've had for so long are not accurate descriptions. They're only descriptions of an experience from a certain point of view. Let me give you an example. Bashar's talked about the idea of something as simple as telepathy. In our normal vernacular, we say, oh, telepathy is someone reading someone else's mind. That's the outdated definition because that's the way the experience seems to be performing. So when someone comes along and says, well, I can prove that there's no such thing as mind reading, then they think they have dispelled the entire idea. But what they've missed is the true causal mechanism, which, as Bashar explains it, is not mind reading. When you have telepathy manifest itself, it's all resonance, it's all frequency, it's all vibration. When someone operates at a certain frequency level and someone else matches that same frequency level, both people have the same thoughts at the same time because those are the thoughts that go hand in hand with that particular frequency.
Right.
So you're not reading their mind, you're just having the same kind of thoughts. This is why when you do observe telepathy happening naturally, you will usually find more often than not, it will happen in situations where different people are in love with one another or have a great emotional need to know what someone else is thinking or feeling. It is that drive and that state of being that causes two people to operate on a similar wavelength and know what each other is thinking. That's why people who are in love often know what each other are thinking without saying a word or finish each other's sentences.
Right.
They're operating on a similar wavelength. So the idea that it's like two tuning forks vibrating in harmony, each playing the same song in a sense, that is what causes telepathy, mechanically speaking. The idea, the experience, the way we experience it in our linear framework, in our linear language is, oh, well, I'm reading someone else's mind. That's not what's happening. So that being the mythological, or I'll say folklore definition, is easily disproven because that's not what's happening.
And we do both all the time.
Huh?
I said we do both all the time. So we're quite aware of exactly what is going on.
Well, right. And then you have, when you have scientists trying to test a lot of these things in the lab, one of the first things they do is try to remove the emotional component from it. And that's exactly the opposite of what they should be doing.
Right.
People who are emotionally involved will more often than not have these kinds of experiences.
Now, I don't know if you caught it. I think I said Don Randy.
It's James Randy.
It's James Randy. You know who Don Randy is.
Remind me.
Don Randy, he was a jazz musician here in the Valley that used to play at the Baked Potato with his band called The Quest.
And there we go, aging ourselves again.
Aging ourselves. I caught myself when Don Randy, and you very politely said, James. I'm sitting here thinking, I just really dated myself. But the Baked Potato on Cahuenga. Okay, so anyway, okay, here we go. This is from Revelations off of Twitter. Yes. Please ask Darryl, does he know about the archons that David Icke talks about? What are they and how do they operate, if so? And this is a great question because of who the archons are, not only through the Bible and those connections and references, but certainly throughout mythology and legend forever now, who the archons are. What does Bashar say about that?
Great question. You'll have to ask him because I don't know of anyone who has.
Okay. All right. So, Bashar, are you listening?
I'm sure he's connecting.
I'm just messing with you, Darryl. Okay. Let's see. This is from Jimmy, not from me. This is from Jimmy. Everything could be altered. It depends on perception, right? Okay. What defines reality? You know what? That's the best question of the night. Jimmy, send me your address. I'll send you a T-shirt. That's a great question.
Well, it's exactly, actually, ironically, what he said. Perception defines reality, except for the structure, which is defined, as Bashar says, by the 5 laws. You exist, everything is here and now. One is the all are the one. What you put out is what you get back, and everything changes but the laws. That's actually a description of the structure of existence. Everything else is perception, and that's what reality is.
So do you practice? Well, do you practice that?
You can't not practice that.
Right.
They're the laws. You can't change them. You can't change the fact that you exist. You can't change the fact that everything is here and now. You can't change the fact that the one is all, the all are one. You can't change the fact that what you put out is what you get back. You can't change the fact that everything changes except the laws. There's no choice but to follow that. That's the structure of existence. What you practice is your choice of how you perceive that structure and what kind of reality you create from what you choose to perceive or believe.
So, which means that Bashar, observing us, knows, because of their experiences, they went through what we are going through right now, albeit an awful long time ago.
Well, the Greys did. Bashar's people never have, because they're an artificial hybrid race. So they had a little bit of a head start because they were created specifically not to go in that direction. But they recognize that we are exhibiting similar traits to the civilization that became the Greys on a parallel Earth. So they're helping us attempt to avoid that particular timeline.
Right. And so eventually, do we eventually elevate into being like Bashar? And how long what are we talking about here? Millions of years? 1,000?
No. He's actually said that no later than, well, sooner than this, of course, we start to operate much like them. But by 1,000 years from now, we will be operating exactly as they operate. So, but much earlier than that in terms of when that starts.
This is from Dan. Dan wants to know, how far in the future is Bashar from?
Again, remember that they're in a parallel reality with a different time frame, a different rate of time. They're 10 times faster than us. But to answer your question as directly as I can, Bashar has said that the best analogy would be to think of them as being about 3,000 years ahead of us.
And one of the questions that we're all dealing with, not only in the conspiracy circles, but channeling ET connections as well, and visions, is an upcoming event that is set to reduce the world population. Does Bashar have any comments on that?
He will usually steer away from negative conspiracy theories because he doesn't want people to hook into them. So regardless of what aspects of them may have some basis in truth, he will rarely entertain long conversations about them, because from his perspective, it just fixates people's consciousness into the idea of us versus them and that we're not empowered. He just won't go down that path.
And quite possibly the strangest question of the night, which will turn out to be extremely profound. Please ask Darryl if he's ever heard of ETs communicating with us using balloons. If so, does he know anything about this type of consciousness?
If he's actually referring to real physical balloons, I don't know. If he's referring to something that might appear to be a balloon, it could be an energy projection or an energy form of consciousness. What I do know is that, like spirit guides, ETs like Bashar will use synchronicity to their advantage to get information across. So if for some reason balloons symbolize something to a particular person that allows them to open their mind to a higher level of consciousness, being that balloons with helium typically rise, or are representative of some better positive state like parties or things like that, It's quite possible that they might use what is synchronistically right in front of our face to get a message across. So it's not impossible that they will often use things in our reality to deliver messages, because it's in some ways easier to just get us to notice something that's right in front of our face that means something to us already symbolically than trying to get through our minds and deliver, a monologue in our head. That's not the easiest thing for them to do, because very often we don't listen, or we just think it's our own thoughts and it has nothing to do with them. So spirit guides and ETs that are sort of operating on a similar level will often trust that synchronicity will contain something in our reality, and all they need to do is sort of whisper to us, nudge us to just take a look to the right.
Right.
And by seeing that object that they know means a certain thing to us, they will have delivered the message, which often represents a state of being they believe would be best for us to be in.
Last question of the night. Now, before we get there, thank you so much, Darryl. Great conversation. I expected this, but it exceeded everything that I was hoping for.
Thank you, Jimmy, for providing the opportunity. Again, I really appreciate it.
This is from Connie. Why do some people have different experiences with extraterrestrials? Why are some having the negative experiences that are scary and some that are loving?
I can give 3 basic, simple answers to that in the time that we have left. Number 1, some people may be interacting with things that might be more negatively oriented. Some people might be interacting with beings that are more positively oriented. Some people might be interpreting things in a negative way because of their own fear-based beliefs that allow them to experience things in a negative way when the situation may not actually be so. And there may be more reasons than that. But one thing I will say simply is there are many different kinds of extraterrestrials. They're not necessarily all of one mind. There may be many different kinds of agendas going on. Earth may be a hotbed of all sorts of different agendas, many of which we may not even know about. So different people will probably run across different forms of extraterrestrials and have a completely different experience than someone else. That's the easiest answer I can give without having a lot more time to go into a lot of specifics.
Unbelievable conversation tonight, Darryl. And again, I know I've given out all of your websites, but what's the best place for everybody to go to connect and to see what you're doing?
If they want Bashar information, it would be bashar.org. If they want to know what I'm doing in a variety of ways, they should just go to DarrylAnka.com, and they'll see all the different kinds of things that I'm working on. Or go to my public Facebook page.
Now, a lot of films were released last year. What are you working on now? Is there going to be anything new in 2019?
Well, as I said, we're now in pre-production on our next film, which is actually a sci-fi romantic comedy called Alienated.
Right on. That's cool. All right. And is that in production? Are we going to see that in 2019? I've only got 15 seconds left.
Yeah, I mean, it is in production. The effects are done. We are shooting, and we're still casting some parts, and we're going to be shooting in March and beyond that. And the film could be done in 2019. Now, whether or not how we will make it publicly available is still up for grabs. We might enter it into film festivals. If a distributor picks it up, then of course it could be out in theaters and on Netflix or what have you. If we have to distribute it ourselves for one reason or another, then it'll be available as downloads, whatever DVDs like our other films. But the film itself will probably be done in 2019. Yes.
If there's a spot in the film for a late night paranormal radio talk show host, I know this guy.
You know this guy. I wonder who that could be.
Darryl, behave and be well, and we'll see you at the Conscious Life Expo, February 22nd through the 25th. Thank you so much, my friend.
We'll see you there. Thank you, Jimmy, once again.
Great conversation.
And thank you to everyone who sent in those marvelous questions. I look forward to meeting you as well.
Thank you, Darryl.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Darryl Anka. All of his websites are right there at jimmychurchradio.com, bashar.org, whatisfirstcontact.com, Zia Films, and DarrylAnka.com. All right, I'm going to take a break right here. I'll come back. Open lines are next. We'll write out this last segment together. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Tappy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi folks, CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and my family is safe because of Numana Emergency Food Storage. Just go to the Numana banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Promo code Jimmy10.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Thank you, Darryl Anka. That was about as good as it gets right there, folks. Unbelievable conversation. All right, I am opening up the phone lines. The new number is 747, and let me back up and get to it. 747-228-2051. 747-228-2051. Okay, and normally the phone lines just light up right now, and I'm not seeing that happen. And with this new phone system, that makes me really, really nervous. So I'm going to double check. They should be lighting up right now, and I don't see why they are not. 747-228-2051. 747-228-2051. Man, I'm getting nervous. What? That's not normal. Holy crap. Okay, 747-228-2051. A couple of things that I want to just go back and address really quick. The question about time travel, I guess, see, this is the thing for me that everybody ask over and over again, and I do the same thing. It's that whole paradox type of situation. And until, okay, yeah, there we go. All right, everything seems to be working now. Wow, okay, it was me. It wasn't you, folks. Okay, yeah, okay, here we go. That was my fault. All right, but it's the paradox situation. And going back, and I've often, dreamed about, look, I play guitar, right? I play guitar. And, I mean, just what if I went back in time and taught myself, what if I gave myself a copy of Blizzard of Oz, right? Or Van Halen 1, Yngwie Malmsteen, Rising Force. And 1975, I pop up, playing those licks and start learning those licks. What would happen with that? That's always the question that I have. But apparently it would happen, but in another universe or in a parallel world, and it wouldn't necessarily change our timeline. Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? Turn me down in the background.
An address really quick.
Okay. Oh, man. Listen to me. Turn me down in the background. There's a 20-second delay.
Yes. Am I on right now?
Yeah, you're live. You need to turn me down. Okay.
Gotcha. Got you turned down now.
Okay. Who's calling?
Yes. My name is Dustin.
Hey, Dustin. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I just have to tell you, I come from a wide variety of backgrounds. I'm learned from a lot of people. I'm not going to, blast names on your radio show, but I will just say AJ. And I've helped as much as I can from an anonymous point of view to help shape the planet as best as I can. Oh my God. I had no idea. I was already a fan of Darryl Anka, just a little bit. But my God, what he released tonight is just the most groundbreaking stuff I've ever experienced. And I'm an extremely spiritual person, okay? I'm an extremely spiritual person, but and I've even, been successful even in being a bridge builder, okay, from the left to the right, from the spiritual to the I wouldn't say non-spiritual, but I'd say to the religious. And my God, I just totally melted in my chair just now. That was such groundbreaking, amazing stuff. I tell you what, if I wanted to cover one thing that Darryl Anka did the best on, and this was kind of a rift for me, okay? There was a giant rift here.
Sure.
It was whenever he was all about the whole, you create your experience. Oh, man. He made me rethink everything just now. I've never had this happen before. And I'm really, really spiritually advanced.
Well, I think that, the more that we try to, I would almost say practice, but accept it, as not only part of our reality, but that and manifesting isn't the right word, although I use it probably too loosely from time to time. But the more that we accept it and try to understand it, then we can actually look around and see that is exactly what is going on. But you have to understand it first, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? You don't understand. You don't understand why these things are happening or why these changes are occurring in your own life. But once you, like you just said, poof, right, your head just explodes because that's exactly what's going on, right, Dustin?
Oh, dude, if you would have told me those things 3 hours ago, I'd have been like, dude, I'm ahead of the curve.
Right.
But then this guy comes on and he's like, dude, you're totally not ahead of the curve yet. You think you are, and that's cool that you do, but now you're about to really be ahead of the curve.
Well, you know what? That is a really, really, really great point, because there are so many of us like yourself that understand that the world isn't what it seems, and we need to go out there and discover and learn and figure this out, because it's not the way that it is presented to us in textbooks or with the mainstream media, what have you. It doesn't matter. And I'm not even going to extremes here. But if you're walking around with that frame of mind and you think you've got a grasp on it, well, that's half of the battle. That's half of it. You're walking around, and then somebody like Darryl comes along, and your mind is already open, and then you hear something like that, and then that's it, man. You're off to the races.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll tell you what. I'm not going to take up too much more of your time. You have plenty of callers to get to, so I'll just say this: God bless you. God bless Darryl Anka. And I don't, care what you think of my definition of God is. I'm just saying, but people need to really take this in for what it's worth. You should actually, I think, make a very big deal about this, about this interview that you had with him, because this is going to reach a lot of people, and it's going to do a whole lot of good.
Thank you for the phone call, Dustin, and very, very perceptive indeed. I really appreciate that. And I hope that in the future, through the archives and this being out there for everybody, that it does get listened to. And you're absolutely right. I agree. Tonight was just an amazing conversation. And you know what? I'll say this. Darryl is really, really cool. There's that aspect, too, about him. He's just a very grounded, cool person in general, but communicated very well tonight. Let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Jimmy?
Yes.
Oh, my God, Jimmy. Rambling here.
Hey, Randy, how you doing, man?
I think I'm going to pull through, Jimmy. That was amazing. That was an amazing thing. Now, I'm not really up on the Bashar deal, where all that data is coming in from, but the gentleman there, Darryl, I was going to pull you off.
That's
Jimmy,
it. You know what, Randy? I'm going to let you finish your thought, but let me say this. Yeah. This show tonight was for you. And even more so because you've never been exposed to Darryl Anka or Bashar before. Your next week is going to be very busy.
Jimmy, I've been living this. This is what I'm telling you here. I was going to drag you off side up there at the Rainbow and tell you this has only started happening about the last 5 years, but this guy is, I'm getting a little info like he's getting here. Now let me share this with you. An example being that when I came in this time approaching your runway there on hold, what you actually did was a demonstration of sending your intent forward. You just created an environment that I walked into when you said, and when you hear me come on. See, you did that, a timeline, a few nano timelines back, we'll call it, just for this example, and it created the reality that you and I are now sharing. So what he's talking about is being able to, everything's all in one. is that what we do naturally is we vector to timelines. And all this data is out there, and what we do is every single time we make a decision and we focus intent on it, we create an alpha omega timeline that goes back and forward. And then when something goes wrong on the timeline that we have our consciousness in experiencing, we want to make a change, and then you hearken back, if I had only made that decision, and you start moving toward what's already going on that other timeline that you gave energy to way back when you made a choice, right? A free choice. It turned out to be possibly not the one that you wanted, but you moved back toward the one where you did make the right choice. And so we're running parallel on these choices that we have made in life. Here's my closing thought about all this. As we move on in this thing that we call the end of our time, based on how many times we have made good decisions, when we transition, then we're going to be moving into a more condensed, as he was talking about, field of options that we move forward on until we find that singularity that he's talking about. Can you believe this East Texas boy is talking like this, Jimmy?
Well, see, but you absorbed it, and that's the most important thing. There's a couple of different ways to approach Darryl, and both are fine. One of them is to go, okay, this is fun to listen to. This is great, and
yes, Jimmy.
And then there's the other way to absorb it and look at yourself. Where you're trying to answer these questions in life, why things are the way they are. You know,
Jimmy, if we were to just absorb 1/10 of what you're teaching us, this is what I'm saying. I want to get a bunch of people together. Let's go over this more than just once. If we can get good at just what he's talking about, a fraction of it, we can literally create our reality from sheer thought. We're doing it anyway.
Well, and see, why isn't it, Randy? Why isn't it that more people don't think like you?
Jimmy, we do, except we don't believe ourselves. I mean, who in the world would think that they could be up there walking with wooden heels with Donald Trump up there at his tower? You could if you didn't. There's nothing that stops a creation. There's one word in English language, I think a year or so ago I called in and we said this. You know what that word is that will stop anything from happening? And you can create anything that you want. This is your canvas. All of these choices, everybody has a canvas. And it's called an activity space. Now, we will move in to start studying Skeller, and in Skeller, everything's like a Sims game, except your consciousness has to experience it on a particular timeline. If you go back in time and you have not put any content or data into that particular time vector, then you can't experience that. You have to have put data there before. You have to have been the exciter thought that caused that alpha omega timeline. You talk about wiping out Mandela. I mean, there is no such thing. But anyway, Jimmy, I just called to tell you.
No. Hold on a minute here. I like where you're going. I don't know if I agree with what you just said. In that, hold on, and not in a negative way, but what I'm saying is that if we are experiencing just us right now on this timeline, right? That's and that right to our left or right to our right, there is another version of us, slightly different. You know, maybe majorly different. Probably the more further away you go in those realities, the more fractal it gets and the more different it gets. But the possibility of, which I believe in, that once in a while some dimensional shift happens, something changes.
There could be a ripple in the matrix. But here's the thing: is Jimmy, in order for there to be a parallel a timeline, alpha omega timeline, you had to have had your own consciousness, your own canvas, had to have made a decision, a cognizant decision. If consciousness can have a conscious decision, but anyway, you had to have made some form of a decision to go right or left. Now, when you do that, you give focused intent. I can't give enough emphasis on this focused intent. Where attention goes, energy flows. Are we still live?
Oh, yeah. We're very live.
Where attention goes, energy flows. That's the seed of manifestation. So if you continue to give it more intent, thought, and focus, then that's going to be the parallel line that's closest to you. As you quit giving it focus, it drifts out of your random access memory that we hold in here, our brain deal, our frontal cortex. But when it leaves and it goes into the ambient, then if you're not giving that continuous energy, it's going to die off and be way off out to the right, as you're talking about, left field. But you can still dig those up and throw a little energy at it and grow it again. But it's these parallel things. Now, Jimmy, if you make good decisions that are in harmony with others and creates greater good rather than disharmony, when you pass or whatever, die, whatever you want to call it, then you're going to have a smaller range of options. Your next journey is going to be better. And something tells me that these next transitions, the people that get on the thin line and don't have a bunch of bad stuff going on where they got a lot to work with, they're the ones that's coming back and know how to move that timeline vector and laying some stuff like Bashar going on here. I'd like to find out more about this Bashar thing.
Yeah, like I said, your next week is going to be very busy, and you're going to be listening to a lot of Bashar. But this is
okay, Jimmy. Thanks.
This is where I actually disagree with Darryl on one point, and in that. I'm not sure that, Darryl knows everything or that Bashar knows everything or I know everything. No, I don't. But the universe is full of infinite possibilities. And so it just hasn't happened yet. No matter what you think it is, everything is possible. To that end, when we are talking about interference into this timeline and that you can't change the future, I had an experience not too long ago where I was driving through a green light. Okay, it's green. I'm driving through a green light. I'm at speed, 35 miles an hour. And as I am approaching this green light, off to my right was two people, man and a woman, that stepped into the crosswalk, which caused me at that moment, I would have never noticed them, but for some reason I did. They step into the crosswalk. Now, I wasn't in danger of hitting anybody, but what it did do is I tapped my brakes, wondering if they were going to walk into the crosswalk, and if I was, then I would have to maneuver and slow down and avoid them, right? That's what happened at that instant. They backed up and stepped back on the curb. I hit my brakes momentarily and slowed down. In front of me at that exact instant, in a nanosecond, dude from my left in a large king cab, brand new Ford F-150 pickup truck, it was white, ran the red light. Now, had I not reacted and tapped on my brakes, I would have been broadsided by the white pickup truck.
Isn't it something, Jimmy? Isn't it something?
Wait, now, I'm not saying that I'm not even coming close to divine intervention. I'm saying, what I am suggesting is somebody went back in time and prevented the accident.
Could have, Jimmy.
That's what I'm saying, and that altered the coincidence of all of this happening at the same time is ridiculous.
Hey, we got to have help. We got to have help, Jimmy. Jimmy, I can remember that video thing that we did there about E2? I've got one that I'm doing a broadcast on Highway 21 going to get this stuff called Some Such Water. I'm doing a live broadcast coming over a hill on Highway 21, and a damn car went through my car.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. You told me about that before. Yeah, it went straight through your car.
Jimmy,
yeah.
Though the headlight, the attitude of the car and the direction, we didn't have enough, it went through the car. And I was just,
Randy, you sure you weren't doing the little puff?
Jimmy, that's the only thing that saved me. I think what happens is it expands your molecules. Of course I was, Jimmy. But this was reality. There's people that pulled up next to me after this happened at a gas station, and a black lady jumped out of her car, just jumping up and down, going, "Oh, my God, man. Oh, my God."
She saw the car drive through your
car. She was behind me.
Wow.
See you later, Jimmy.
I'll talk to you, Randy. Behave and be well.
Goodbye.
Ramblin' Randy right there. Car drove through his car. Demolecularized. Wow, I just said that and didn't mess it up. But yeah, it happened to me. And there are explanations to that. When somebody hears that story, it was God, it was a guardian angel, it was, divine intervention. Could be. Man, there's no question about that. But if we look at it in the terms of how it went down, time travel. Alternate parallel situations, boom, be there at this moment. Just distract Jimmy just for a second so he just taps his brakes so he doesn't get broadsided. He's got work to do. He's got more fade to blacks to do. So let's just jump in there. And it was just too weird of a situation. And I remember after it happened, and at that instant, right, the adrenaline rush that goes through your body, you can't even see straight, right? It's just like it takes you 15 minutes to come down off of that high. You know what I'm talking about. I drove through the intersection. I wasn't angry at the guy in the white pickup truck that ran the red light, and I'm watching him drive, and he stopped at the next light to my right. And I continue at my leisurely pace going forward, trying to calm down. But it instantly popped in my mind. Those two people that were standing on the corner that distracted me, that's what it was. It wasn't about the guy running the light. And I drove, and as I drove, I wasn't in the divine God intervention. First off, I'm not so sure that God would step in and divinely alter anything for me. But could there have been something else in play? It was too quick. Everything happened too fast. It was way beyond coincidence. It was a trippy thing to go through. And so I ask all of you, when things like that happen, just stop and take a look at it from a more practical standpoint. Trust me, going into the divine, the faith side of things, for me, that is a much farther reach to believe and to grasp onto than something else, right? Something else. And that is quite simply a parallel time situation where somebody just came in and ran interference, a little pass interference on the play, a little on the play. That's where I'm coming from on this. I would love to hear from all of you. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com, because if Scott just comes in with, why not, Jimmy, you're protected? I don't think so. And I guess where I'm going is in the future, where they're going, okay, church, this, okay, all right, this thing happens, he gets broadsided by this pickup truck. Let's not let that happen. So let's go ahead and bang somebody back. Okay, you two just run a little interference off and they run the probabilities over and over again. They look at it and they go, okay, this time you got to go into the intersection, and then because maybe in other versions where they ran the test, I didn't slow down. Maybe I just kept speeding through the intersection, right? That's what I'm saying here. And I'm okay with that, believe me. But I do know this. Them stepping into the crosswalk was not by accident. It was deliberate. It was deliberate. It was as deliberate as the sun comes up. So there you go. All right. Man, I've got to get out of here. I ran out of time. Everybody that's on hold, I apologize for that. I just needed to explain that situation in the intersection. It was crazy. Oh, couple of nights ago. Oh, man, can I get this whole story in? Couple of nights ago, check this out. I'm going to get this in. I'm driving to coast, and I'm driving past a hospital, and I'm en route. Some lights popped up in front of me, and I was in the right-hand lane, 2 lanes, stop traffic right in front of the hospital. I was like, oh, man, somebody's parallel parking to park. Okay. But the traffic doesn't move, and I don't see anybody parallel parking. I look to my left. There's no traffic. I pull out to go around the car so I can get to coast. And as I pulled around, there's 2 cars stopped. I look to my right, standing in the middle of the street, is this guy. No shirt on. It's 30 degrees, right? No shirt on, and he had the EKG round stickers, like 4 of them, hanging off his chest with the wires hanging off of those. Barefoot. He's wearing like hospital scrub blue pants, and his hands are bloody, and he's got like a white towel or something down around his waist, and he's standing there looking at the car, not yelling, not screaming. It was like a zombie movie, some crazy The Ring. I don't even know how to explain it. In the middle of the street. And I just kept driving to coast. I didn't shoot any video. I should have turned around. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. That was disturbing. With that, I'll leave you on that note. This is Fade to Black. I want to thank Darryl Anka for coming in tonight. That was a great conversation. I think that show is radio history, radio gold. Fade to Black's executive producers, Rita Camurian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. It's broadcast owned and copyrighted 2019 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll see everybody tomorrow night. Until then, be safe. Go back, Lee Tepe.